Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. And it said, the woman shall have a seed. Now, when you understand biology, women don't have seed. Because what produces an offspring is something called the spermatozoon. And only a man has the capacity to produce a spermatozoon. And so because a woman does not have seed, when God said a woman will have a seed, that means he has gone beyond biology. He has now entered spirit life. Because a new operation is about to enter the earth realm. And he said, the seed of the woman shall bruise the head of the serpent. So the ancient war that was going on in the spirit, God wanted man to fight that battle for him. But the man did not have wisdom because he was not operating from light. He was operating from the fallen realm. And so that beast outsmarted him. And so when God wanted to come this time, he cannot come from a man, because if he comes from a man, he will be a man of man. And so the only way God can come is to escape into the womb of a woman and come out as the seed of God. And so he became a man of God. The word man of God is not a preacher. The word man of God means that which is born of God. And so the first time God wore the garment of a man of God showed up. And he said the assignment of the first man of God was to crush the head of the serpent. And so one of the reasons we exist is to crush the head of the serpent and to bring glory to God by establishing his government. Now, if you look at the scriptures deeper, John was speaking about this same matter that happened in Genesis. In 1 John chapter 3 verse 8, and he said, for this cause is the Son of Man made manifest, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And so every time man finds meaning, his first assignment is to destroy the works of the devil. Because from the Garden of Eden, his job is to crush the head of the serpent. 1 John 3:8 said, to destroy the works of the devil. And so when the devil now knew that the assignment of man is to crush his government, he began to search every man that comes on the face of the earth. And so he discovered the first man after Adam was called Cain. And so he went and dabbled into Cain and made Cain to kill Abel, so that no man will exist again. Because he was afraid of the human race. Prophecy has captured it that it is man that will crush his head. So when Adam came, he battled Adam. When Adam gave birth to Cain, he battled Cain. And then a man showed up called Enosh. And he said from the days of Enosh, men began to call upon the name of the Lord. That was when we knew that the technology of crushing the head of the serpent is not to speak English, it's priesthood. Because the first men that were able to attempt to crush the head of a serpent was to call upon the name of the Lord. But there was a deficiency. The deficiency that race of men had was that their life was biological. And so anyone that begins to trouble the devil will wait for him to grow old. Because no matter how smart you are, you can't deny old age. And so when Enosh died, men came until the time of Noah. The heart of men became dark. God had to purge the earth. And God started again and started with Abraham. And so from time to time, every time men show up, the devil comes. He found a man called Samson. He was so strong. He could carry the gate of a city on his shoulder. And he said, this may be the man that will crush my head. And he sent Delilah. And so every time the man turns in the direction of flesh, he becomes weak. And the Samson was cut off. And he kept cutting men off until he saw a strange man who walked into the wilderness to fast and pray for 40 days. And he came to him with the same strategy and said, if you are the Son of God. So the whole idea was to find the Son of God. Number is not a factor. It's the Son of God that is the factor. And so the census of darkness was to find the Son of God. And so if you say, if you are the Son of God, turn these stones to bread. And Jesus looked at him. The man you met in the garden is operating from his brain. This one operates from government. And he said, it's not about who can turn stone to bread. It's about who can stay in obedience. And he said, man shall not live by bread alone. Adam didn't know. That's why he rushed after an apple. He said, man shall live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And so the devil began to battle him. When he saw that his deception could not bring him down, he now said, there is one thing no man can escape. It's called death. So he plotted for him to die. Meanwhile, according to the algorithm of the divine, they routed their wisdom through that which the princes in darkness can never understand. So the gateway to crush the head of the devil was actually not to sit on a throne. It was to die on a cross. And so the Bible said, if the princes of this world had known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. And so when they crucified him, he was actually crushing their head. So in Colossians 2:14, he said, having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a public show of them, triumphing over them by the cross. So the way Jesus killed the devil was not to fight, it was to die. That was when we knew that the greatest strength on earth is self-denial. When a man begins to die to self, he begins to win the battle of the spirit realm. And so Jesus was the first man that was able to crush the head of the serpent. But after Jesus carried out that assignment, the world will not come to an end. And so there was a parable in the spirit. A question was asked, and that question is in Isaiah 53 verse 8. Now that he has completed this assignment and the world has not yet ended, he said, who shall declare his generation? The Son of Man has completed the job. The head of the serpent has been crushed, but men are still on the earth. Who is that person that can hold the fort waiting for the Messiah? Who shall declare his generation? The job is done, but there are so many other victims on the earth. And so that question became the betting of what we call ministry. And so ministry is not a product of human ambition. Ministry is actually an extension of the government of God that Jesus began to institute when he hung on the cross. And that's why I tell people, ministry does not begin when you establish institution. Ministry actually begins when you understand self-denial, because it's in death that we can crush the head of the serpent.